All right, hi. Welcome, Her Legal Lens. All right, we got a verdict. This is crazy and fast. So we're coming to you live.
This is about as live as we can do right now. We just got a notification that the court was going to read the verdict at 6:20 Mountain Time, which is 8:20 Eastern Standard Time. Jury has been deliberating for just about 3 hours, so this was really quick.
Let's see the courtroom so we can watch them come in. The judge will obviously invite them in. The um the verdict, 3 hours on a 2+ week trial to me is going to be a guilty on all counts. It's got to be unanimous. So this definitely is not a hung jury because hung juries
No
go on
way.
for days and days and days. And generally speaking, a quick verdict like this, it's unless they really feel like, but I watching the closing arguments, to me, I think that Attorney Bloodworth knocked it out of the park when it came to that closing argument. I mean, it was one of the better closing arguments I've ever seen.
It really was his use of the demonstrative evidence and showing the jury every step of the way when he was talking about the evidence. We are seeing prosecutors do this more and more using technology to be able to show this to the jury. And Bloodworth, he really nailed it. He did a great job of integrating the facts and the evidence that came in and really showing that to the jury. There were a couple of times the defense tried to do it. They showed some kind of, in my opinion, some strange artwork to kind of show women grieving in art. Kind of fell flat for me. I was surprised that Attorney Lewis gave the closing. I think if I'm, viewing the last few days correctly, Attorney Nestor may have been under the weather, and Attorney Lewis did give the closing. Although we did learn, if true, that Attorney Lewis is also a widow, and she brings that up and lost her husband with two children as well. So she used that as a way to relate to Kouri. Could have been the plan all along, but I know I was looking forward thinking that Attorney Nestor would be giving this closing. And then Bloodworth again drove it home in his rebuttal close. And quite frankly, if we have a verdict this quickly, probably put the nail in Corey's coffin there, so to speak.
Yeah, so it's 8:20 now, so it's 6:20, so it's probably going to transition pretty quickly here. But I think that one of the things about when you're building trust as the lead attorney and you're building trust with that jury, I mean, obviously Attorney Lewis had been participating throughout the trial, but Attorney Nestor was, in my opinion, sort of more of the lead attorney in this case. At least that's what it appeared to be for me. And so when you don't have her doing the closing arguments, I mean, obviously it's one of those, trial moments where if you're the one questioning and you're the one sort of involved in the witnesses, it tends to solidify and you have a better presentation. Obviously, Bloodworth had a very strong command of the facts here, and he knew exactly how he wanted to present it. Not only did he have a wonderful presentation, it's sort of this pinnacle to how he presented the evidence to the walk the dog, letter at the end and the officer O'Driscoll. It just was so thoughtful along the way how he presented his evidence and the closing in my mind, how he broke it up was just, again, just really shows you what a skilled litigator he is. I mean, I think that, if it comes back a not guilty, I will be surprised. But you never know. Of course, at this point, if you're the attorneys, you feel sick to your stomach. You don't even want to be in the room. So it's
This
like,
is the absolute, I was just thinking, this is the absolute worst part as an attorney. After you give your closing and the judge is giving the jury instructions, you have that few minutes where you can kind of breathe for a second, although you're, making sure you're paying attention to the jury instructions, but the trial has finished, it's out of your hands. But then the jury goes out and it's so anxiety ridden. And then those few moments where they're probably standing in the courtroom right now, waiting for the judge and the jury to come out, and it's just hard in your throat, just want to be sick. I do feel for all of the attorneys involved in this. Everyone you can tell gave their gave it their all, gave it their heart. Obviously, I've spent years and years on this case, and tonight is going to come to an end one way or the other, and I do feel for all of them in this moment.
I mean, the likelihood that they've left the complex low, they're definitely there. There seems to be somewhat of a little bit of a delay here. And, it's probably getting everyone in order, right? Back into the courtroom. You got
You got to get security, you got to get the court officers back.
the families, right? So if the families, they want to make sure that the families are in the courtroom. So at this point, everybody is probably just scrambling. This is really, a fairly
I'm pretty shocked, to be honest. Like I do I'm gonna expect a guilty verdict. I think, like you said, it's only guilty or not guilty at this point. There's no way it's a mistrial. So take that out of consideration. I would be shocked if it was a not guilty, but I won't be shocked if it's a guilty, but I'm a little bit disappointed, I guess, because I feel like 3 week, 2.5 weeks of trial, in my opinion, the defendant deserves the diligence of the jury to go back there, review all the evidence, talk about all the evidence. If it's that quick, jury probably had a pretty good idea going into that jury room today exactly how they were going to decide. And 3 hours doesn't give much time for doesn't give much time for a lot of review of the evidence or a lot of debate.
there's no way they looked at everything. First of all, we know that
Not a chance.
the transcripts alone are hundreds of pages. We know the body cams, the phone calls. I'd be curious to know, first of all, I don't know what in Utah if they're allowed to interview the jurors or not, or how that, it'll be interesting to see if they are able to ask, obviously, but the idea that they went through that evidence, unless it's a not guilty and they're like, hey, there's no way they prove their case. I mean, and then they don't need to, I guess. But even if I'm the prosecutor, I'm like, hey, show me your, like, look at all the evidence. But here,
Just, I find the likelihood that unanimous not guilty that quickly. I feel like maybe you had a couple, at best Corey could hope for, in my opinion, right, is that they go back there. There are a couple jurors that are maybe hanging loose, maybe not sure, debate about it, maybe bring a couple more over onto her side. But if this means that there was just absolutely nobody who saw, if this is a guilty, they didn't bring in any jurors to really do much questioning of any of the evidence or a whole lot of discussion back there.
yeah, and just to be clear, that's not really an appealable issue, right? I mean, we can't
Mhm.
go and appeal that the jury didn't take long enough to make this decision. They really, again, I think it's something that we've been talking about throughout, which is that opening statement is so powerful. And once that opening statement is made and a juror sort of aligns themselves with a witness and then it builds from there, everything after that is through the lens of that thought. Even though they're not supposed to judge along the way, even though they're not supposed to, sort of get to a side, it's almost impossible, right? I mean, we're human judges. Like that's what we do. So, you just take that evidence in and you see it the way that you see it through that lens. And this really could make for clearly a fast verdict on a conviction. I mean, this is pretty big. I think that it's unfortunate. And it was so fast that I haven't even seen the end of the defense's closing. I mean, we're here doing verdict and we're texting and I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't even seen the end of it. So, you know, and I'm guessing, and I don't know if you saw it, but I'm guessing that there was not this request by defense to slow it down and please look through all the evidence. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing. I don't think I saw that unless she closed out with
Attorney Lewis does, ask the jury to do that in her closing. She asked the jury to ask questions on Corey's behalf, to really talk about the evidence. She asked them to, I thought it walked the line a little bit, but she asked them to be Corey's voice in the jury room, something along those lines, and to really question everything and go through everything. So she really did try to get the jury to sit down and look at everything with an open mind when they go back there. I was thinking too, like there's several charges here. This is not just an aggravated murder charge, right? So to go back into a jury room and look over multiple counts, aggravated murder, attempted murder, fraud, to look at all of those jury instructions and to even just vote going through it, that takes time. And this was very quick, especially given how many charges there were here. It's hard to emphasize, I just really want to emphasize just how quickly this verdict comes back.
And also, I think it speaks, presuming it's a guilty, which I believe it is, based on what we're seeing. I think it speaks to how important it was that Attorney Bloodworth was so organized in his presentation. It just made the argument that much stronger. And seriously, watching it, I'm like, do I even need to go through the evidence? I mean, it's all there and he's really spelled it out and frankly makes a lot of sense,
Yeah. There's a moment in his rebuttal cross where he quotes what most likely were misstatements by Attorney Lewis in her closing arguments about the evidence. There definitely were a couple of times where I think she, in attempts to make arguments, perhaps misstated the way evidence came in. And in his rebuttal close, he kind of highlighted those and, emphasized that details matter and getting the details right in the case matter. And that allowed the jury to sort of buy in with him that listen to me, trust me. I'm the one that knows everything that's going on. I know all the evidence. I know all the facts. This is what happened. Now now vote guilty. And to a degree, he's right. You have to know your case backwards and forwards. You can't afford to make those little mistakes here or there. And misspeaks happen. But there were a few instances where I think she really misspoke a couple of times and several times actually in her closing argument said she wasn't really sure. I think that came out, I'm not really sure. And to me, it just seemed like, girl, this is the one time you should be sure. You are trying to persuade a room of people to go with you. You should be sure.
Yeah, you need to have a command of the facts and you really need to know. And I think Ann Nestor, here comes the judge.
And we got Judge M, so here we go. Let's just listen to the court and the verdict.
Do you hear sound? Kelly, do you have sound in there?
Yeah.
There's no sound on this side.
Against their will. They, all the lawyers, Ms. Richins, every attendee, my court staff, the bailiffs, everybody deserves your respect. There simply cannot be any outward reactions. You have to keep your hands folded in your lap. If you feel overcome with emotion, just look down. We cannot have any outward reaction. Second, once the verdict is read and the jury is discharged, you need to stay seated and follow the deputy's instructions about how we will leave the courtroom in an orderly fashion. If anybody in here can't follow these instructions, this is your chance to leave.
YouTube crashing? What's happening?
All right. Fair warning. Counsel, Ms. Richins.
Not working on your end?
It is my practice to ask all the lawyers and the defendant to stand in respect for the jury as I read the verdict.
The video is sort of coming in and out, but
Mr. Bloodworth, are we ready for the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Lewis.
We are.
I mean,
All right.
I'm nervous. I can't even imagine how
She
they.
looks nervous. This might be the most emotion I've seen on her.
Yeah, she's not. This is not a good. This is hard to watch when this happens, but you know what? Justice, right? So, Attorney Nestor knows.
She does. She already looks like she's gonna cry.
Mhm.
I can put our lines in the message. Oh. Okay.
I mean, for what it's worth, she really does look like she's, I don't know, scared, you know?
She looks scared. She does. You can see she's breathing heavy. She's kind of breathing in and out. Very coming in.
Folks, please have a seat as you come in.
Only 8 jurors deliberate.
Please have a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, would the foreperson you've selected please stand? May I ask you a yes or no question? Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict?
Yes, we have.
Would you please hand the verdict form to the deputy, and you can have a seat. Thank you. I'll take that.
Attorney Ramos is behind her. And that's Mr. Richins. That's Eric's father, mother, family.
All right. Counsel, Ms. Richins, please stand. Count 1, aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree that the prosecution has proved the following circumstance or circumstances regarding count 1 beyond a reasonable doubt. The homicide was committed for pecuniary gain, and the homicide was committed by means of the administration of any substance administered in a lethal amount, dosage, or quantity. Count 2, attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree the prosecution has proved the following circumstance or circumstances regarding count 2 beyond a reasonable doubt. The attempted homicide was committed for pecuniary gain. Count 3, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 4, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 5, forgery. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of forgery. It's signed by the foreperson. Please have a seat. Madam Foreperson, is this the verdict that the jury reached unanimously?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you may have a seat. Ms. Lewis, Ms. Nestor, do you wish the jury to be polled?
Yes, please.
All right. Folks, I'll ask you the same yes or no question, one at a time, starting on my left, working this way. Front row first. If you could show me your lanyard number as I ask you. Juror number 5, is this the verdict you voted in favor of?
Yes.
Juror number 4, is this the verdict you voted in favor of? Juror number 3. I can't see your number, I'm so sorry. The 4th person, I just need to ask you again, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Juror number 2.
Yes, it is.
Juror number 1.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir.
Photo, the video
Juror
is
number
on.
8.
I don't know if
Yes.
it's.
Juror number 7.
Yes.
Juror number 6.
Yes.
All right. Counsel, is there anything further on this case before the jury is discharged? Mr. Bloodworth.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Lewis?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this...
Okay. Well,
And that's the end of the Kouri Richins trial, less any appeals.
yeah, I mean, I
So,
think
so quick.
she obviously showed some emotion. The family was very emotional. They try not to have too much emotion, for one, for safety reasons, two, for jury, and obviously court decorum. So they do try to have everyone behave and not have any public outbursts either way, right? For the family who's relieved or not, or the defendant, and vice versa. Well, I guess we're not shocked by that. So I don't know when the sentencing will be. It'll probably be, I'm not sure how what Utah does. Typically, it's gonna be at least what we know is a couple weeks, but and then they'll be able to have the family speak as to what they think and how the victim witness impact statements, how it's impacted them, the loss, and ask the judge to, do certain things depending on what they feel. So that will be the next phase. But thank you so much for watching with us. This was our first trial, and we've had some technological challenges. We've been prepping for our own trials, so this is a lot of extra work. And but it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun co-hosting this with you, Kelly. So
Yes, please like us, subscribe to us, and we'll be with you for the next, haven't determined the next trial that we're going to be breaking down and discussing. But we also plan on bringing you some content that is not directly trial related that we're working on. So hopefully stay tuned, like us and subscribe us, and you'll get all that new content.
thanks, everyone.